Welcome to XYED Mysteries, where the unknown awaits. Imagine you're deep within a forest so ancient, its trees seem to whisper secrets of bygone eras. Sunlight filters through the dense canopy, painting a dappled, almost magical pattern on the forest floor. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves, a symphony of nature's life and death cycle. This is the kind of place where you can lose yourself, where the modern world feels a million miles away. It's a place of solitude, of peace. But sometimes, in the heart of such tranquility, you find things that don't belong. Things that shatter the peace and replace it with a chilling, creeping dread. Our story begins with just that kind of discovery. A small group of experienced hikers, Alex, Maya, Ben, and Chloe, were trekking through a remote, uncharted part of the Blackwood National Forest. They were seasoned adventurers familiar with the wilderness, its challenges, its beauty. They'd spent days navigating by map and compass, their spirits high, reveling in the isolation. But on the fourth day, as the afternoon sun began its slow descent, they stumbled upon something that stopped them dead in their tracks. There, nestled between the colossal, moss-covered oaks, stood a door. It wasn't part of a ruin or the remnant of an old cabin. It was just a door, standing perfectly upright, completely alone. It was made of a smooth, obsidian black material that seemed to absorb the light around it, creating a pocket of shadow in the sun-drenched clearing. There were no walls, no frame connecting it to the earth, no hinges visible. It simply stood there, an impossible object in a possible world, a stark, geometric anomaly against the wild, organic chaos of the forest. The hikers circled it cautiously, their initial disbelief slowly curdling into a mixture of fascination and unease. The door was cold to the touch, unnaturally so, like a slab of ice in the middle of summer. There was no handle, no knocker, no keyhole, just a seamless, monolithic slab of black. Ben, ever the pragmatist, tried to push it, to find a seam or a weakness, but it wouldn't budge. It was as solid and unyielding as the ancient trees that flanked it. They checked their maps, their GPS devices, nothing indicated any structure, old or new, in this area. It was as if the door had simply materialized out of thin air. As dusk settled, casting long, dancing shadows across the clearing, the atmosphere began to shift. The usual chorus of crickets and birdsong died down, replaced by a profound, expectant silence. The hikers decided to make camp a short distance away, keeping the mysterious door within sight. They couldn't bring themselves to leave it. The mystery was too compelling, a magnet for their curiosity. They built a fire, its warm glow a feeble defense against the encroaching darkness and the unsettling presence of the black door. That night, the whispers started. Faint at first, like the rustling of leaves in a phantom wind, they seemed to slither through the trees, weaving in and out of the campers' hearing. They were indistinct, impossible to decipher, but they carried a tone of urgency, of pleading, or perhaps of warning. The hikers huddled closer to the fire, their eyes darting towards the door, now a perfect rectangle of absolute blackness against the moonlit forest. Alex swore he saw the shadows around the door deepen, swirling as if disturbed by an unseen force. They tried to rationalize it the wind, their tired minds playing tricks on them, but a seed of genuine fear had been planted. When dawn broke, a pale, anemic light filtering through the mist, they noticed something that made the blood run cold in their veins. The door had moved. It was only by a few feet, but it was unmistakably closer to their campsite. They checked the ground around it. There were no tracks, no drag marks, no sign that it had been physically moved. It had simply shifted. A collective shiver ran through the group. The impossible had just become more impossible. The second day was spent in a state of heightened anxiety. The hikers debated their options. Should they turn back? Report it. But to whom? Who would believe such a story? The pull of the mystery, however, was stronger than their fear. They decided to stay one more day to document everything. As Chloe was photographing the area, she noticed something new. On the bark of the trees surrounding the door, strange symbols had appeared overnight. They weren't carved or painted, they looked more like they were burned into the wood, dark and intricate patterns that resembled no known language or iconography. They were jagged, chaotic, and looking at them for too long made you feel dizzy. Their compasses were now useless, the needles spinning wildly in their casings as if caught in a localized magnetic storm. Their GPS devices flickered and died. They were truly cut off, isolated with this silent, menacing object. The whispers returned with the night, louder this time, more insistent. And then Ben, who had been staring intently at the door, went pale. He scrambled back from his post, his eyes wide with terror. "I heard it," he whispered, his voice trembling. "I heard knocking. A faint, rhythmic tapping. From the other side of the door." This new development sent a shockwave of pure terror through the group. A hallucination could be shared, a compass could malfunction, but the sound of knocking implied something else entirely. It implied an intelligence. It implied that something or someone was on the other side, aware of their presence. And it wanted to get out. Or perhaps it wanted them to come in. The hikers were now prisoners of their own curiosity, trapped in a bubble of paranormal activity miles from civilization. The forest no longer felt like a place of beauty, it felt like a cage, and the black door was its focal point. Tension mounted with each passing hour. Sleep offered no escape, only nightmares filled with twisting symbols and the incessant, muffled sound of knocking. The group dynamic began to fray. Accusations flew. Was Ben imagining it? Was Maya, who kept staring at the symbols, acting strangely? Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, sent them jumping. The door loomed over them, a silent judge, its presence dominating their every thought. It had moved closer again during the second night, now sitting less than 50 feet from their dying fire. It was watching them, waiting. Then came the third night. A full moon hung in the sky, huge and unnervingly bright, bathing the clearing in an eerie, silver light. The forest was unnaturally still. The whispers had stopped. The knocking had ceased. The silence was somehow more terrifying than the noise had been. It was the silence of a predator holding its breath right before it strikes. Just after midnight, as the four hikers sat huddled together, too afraid to sleep, a sound split the air. It wasn't a whisper or a knock. It was a low, grating creak. The sound of ancient, unoiled hinges being forced open. Slowly, impossibly, the black door began to swing inwards on its own. It opened into an impenetrable, absolute darkness, a void that seemed to drink the moonlight and give nothing back. No sounds came from within, no light, no hint of what lay beyond. But a wind, a cold, unnatural gust, billowed out from the opening. It wasn't the fresh, earthy wind of the forest. It was stale, ancient, and carried a scent of dust and decay and something else, something metallic and vaguely organic. It swept through their campsite, extinguishing their fire in an instant, plunging them into near-total darkness, illuminated only by the cold, indifferent light of the moon. The forest, which had been alive with unsettling sounds just moments before, fell completely, deathly silent. Not a cricket chirped, not an owl hooted. It was as if every living creature for miles around was holding its breath in terror. The door stood agape, a dark, rectangular mouth in the fabric of the woods. An invitation to the unknown. The hikers were frozen, their faces pale masks of horror in the moonlight. The object of their fascination and fear was now open. The knocking had stopped because the one who was knocking was no longer behind a closed door. The question that had consumed them for 3 days was now answered with an even more terrifying one. It wasn't about what the door was, but what had just come through it, or what it was inviting them into. The void within the doorway seemed to pulse, to beckon. The cold wind whispered promises of secrets and truths man was not meant to know. For a moment, a terrifying, insane impulse flickered through Alice's mind to walk through it, to see what was on the other side. He looked at his friends and saw the same horrifying curiosity reflected in their wide, terrified eyes. The story, as it was pieced together later from a single recovered journal, ends there. The final entry just reads, "It's open." The wind. It smells like old stars. I think it's calling my name. The hikers were never seen again. Rescue parties found the abandoned campsite, the dead fire, and the strange symbols burned into the trees. But of the black door, there was no sign. It was gone, as if it had never been there at all. So what do you think lies beyond the door? A different dimension? An ancient prison? Or simply a gateway to a darkness that resides not in the forest, but within ourselves? The woods keep their secrets, and some doors are best left unopened. What's the scariest thing you've ever found in the wild? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoy mysteries that linger in your mind long after the story is over, be sure to like this video, share it with a friend who loves a good scare, and subscribe to XYED Mysteries. We have so many more secrets to uncover. Thanks for watching.